Good morning, my Sunday morning littles. I hope you're doing okay this Sunday. Well, we're back in my office again. Yep, we're not in our Sunday school room, are we? Oh man, we're gonna still hold up that shield of faith that we talked about last week, and we're still gonna believe that one day we're gonna be back in our little Sunday school room again. But until then, we have to meet like this. Okay? I do want to say that I'm so excited that we had virtual visitors again in our online class last week. We want to welcome all those virtual visitors back. And remember, we always said if you don't have a home church, come be with us because we're a good group, aren't we, littles? We are. Now, today, we're going to talk about the next piece in the armor of God. And remember, when we started on this little journey of learning about what the armor of God was all about, we sang a little song called I'm in the Lord's Army. And if you remember, that song said, yes, sir, at the end. So I want you to kind of keep that in your mind. If you're in the Lord's army, you're going to have some sort of armor on because if you think about people who are in the army and things like that, they wear their armor, they wear their protection. So if we're in the Lord's army, it's no different. We have to have that protection on. And so we talked about that armor and we talked about the first three pieces, and those were the belt of truth, the breastplate of righteousness, and of course those gospel shoes of peace. And then we added the shield last week. And if you remember in our lesson last week, we were told we need to take up that shield, meaning we need to pick it up and use it as a protection against the weapons that the devil may throw at us or shoot at us. So today we're going to add one more piece to this armor, and this piece is another piece that you have to take up and put on. And the piece that we're going to talk about today and learn about today is the helmet of salvation. Now, the helmet of salvation, we've got two parts to talk about. We've got to talk about the helmet part, and we've got to talk about the salvation part. Okay, so let's talk about the helmet part first, because that's probably something that you're a little bit more familiar with. Okay, I want you to think of what the purpose would be for a helmet. Well, I think that if I put that helmet on my head, the purpose would be to protect my brain. Don't you think that would be? When you ride a bicycle, do you put a helmet on? Yeah. And when you put that helmet on, you don't put that helmet on your leg. You don't put that helmet on your hand. You put that helmet on your head because your brain's up there and it's so important to keep that brain safe, right? So I can think about riding a bicycle and putting a helmet on. I can also think about maybe football players who put helmets on when they go out and play the game of football. I also think about motorcycle riders and four-wheeler riders that have to put those helmets on. And I also even think about construction workers who have a different form of helmet in the hard hat that they wear. So I think you kind of understand what the purpose of a helmet is. It's to really protect that brain of yours. So maybe we should think about when we're protecting that brain with a helmet, that might be a little bit different than when we protect our mind with a helmet. Okay, so the helmet of salvation is exactly what we use to protect our mind. Now, our brain, of course, is up there and it controls everything in our body and it tells us what things taste like and it tells us what things smell like and it tells us what color things are. It tells us all those things. But our mind is what we use to think with and what we use to determine if that something is right or wrong, or if something is best for us or maybe not for us, okay? So when we think about protecting our mind, we can protect it with the helmet of salvation. You put that on. You want that helmet of salvation to have a radar. Yeah, a little radar. antenna up there. That little radar antenna needs to be up there because your mind needs to stay alert and tuned in to the sound of God's voice. And God's constantly trying to speak to you, and He's speaking the truth because we know what the truth is, and God's Word is the truth. So He's constantly speaking that to you, but the devil is constantly trying to hit the mute button and mute God out so you can't hear Him. And he wants you, the devil wants you to listen to him. Yeah. So we want to make sure that that helmet's on to protect our mind because we are smart and we know wrong from right and right from wrong. And we know when God's talking to us and telling us to do things that are right. So we're going to put that helmet of salvation on. And when you have it on, it has a really good protection against things that you shouldn't do or shouldn't see. For instance, if you see pictures that you know you probably shouldn't look at and they're not really nice pictures to look at, or maybe some of your friends may say words that are not kind and really should not be said, and sometimes even thoughts come through our mind about things that we know we shouldn't do. Well, with your helmet of salvation on, it is so much easier to determine what you really need to let into your mind and what you really need to pay attention to. Okay? Satan wants to be in control of that. And if you don't have that helmet of salvation on, he's going to try to take control. He is. So I want you to act as you are thinking. So if you act as you are thinking, then the things that you're doing are kind and good, and the things that you're thinking are kind and good. We must keep our helmet of salvation on so we can tune out the devil. Now, we also have a part of this helmet of salvation. That's the salvation part. And so what exactly do you think the salvation part might be about? Many people think that that the salvation part is just the fact that you've placed your trust in Jesus and He's forgiven you of your sins and you're going to heaven. And that's all true, but that's not the only part of this. There's some other parts to your salvation, and one of them is a big, long part. Okay, it's a big, long part. And that big, long part is a big, long word, and we can clap it out, and it's going to be a lot of syllables. And you know, we do this in Sunday school to kind of help us know what a great big word is, okay? But the word that we're going to clap out is justification. So get ready. Help me. Here we go. Justification. Five syllables in that word. That word is humongous. The word justification is what we get with our salvation. Justification is what Jesus did by paying your price for your sin on the cross. We all had a debt, or we all had something that we had to answer for, that we had to pay for. But Jesus did it for us when He died on the cross. That's called justification. So you are justified as a child of the King. Now, I know you're little, and I know that the word justification may be a little bit hard for you sometimes to understand. But I want you to kind of think of it like this, okay? Now, most of you have brothers and sisters. And if you don't have brothers and sisters, then you're probably around a friend that you like at school. But think about you and maybe your sister, and you're playing in your room, and you make an enormous mess. Enormous. I mean, your toys are everywhere. Your books are scattered all over the place. You can't even see the floor for the mess that you've made. Now, Mommy says, oh, as soon as you're ready, I have a yummy, yummy snack. But you got to make sure that your room's all nice and clean before you come to the kitchen for your yummy snack. and you're feeling a little bit lazy. You look around that room and you say, yeah, this is a pretty big mess. I made some of it, but I didn't make it all. So I don't think I'm going to clean up. But the rule was the room had to be cleaned before either one of you got a snack. And so your sister decides to clean it all up. She's really starving. She wants a snack and she cleans it all up. Yeah, she probably didn't like it, but she did it. She cleaned it all up so you and her both could have a snack. When it's all clean and she's worked so hard and you go to the kitchen to get a snack, you both get one, but did you really do any work for that snack? Now think about that. Do you owe your sister a big, big thank you? Yeah, and if you think you owe your sister a big thank you, can you only imagine the thank you that you owe to Jesus for dying on the cross for your sins? And through your salvation, now you have justification. Now you also get something else through that. You also get grace. You get some grace, and grace is not a big word. It's only a one-syllable word, one clap for grace. But grace includes everything that God has already provided for you. He's provided everything for you. And you know, sometimes when we're little, and I know Miss Michelle was little one time, sometimes it's hard for us to be thankful for the things that we have. Sometimes we just take it for granted because we have it and it's always been there. And sometimes, especially when we have maybe no brothers and sisters, or sometimes we're by ourselves a lot and we just feel like everything that we have is all mine, and you know, everything's fine and I pretty much get what I want. But you know what? Sometimes it's really hard to be thankful for the things that you have. For instance, if you had your heart set on going somewhere to a really nice Italian restaurant, and you wanted to go and have a really good time with your family, and you told mommy, oh, I want to eat pizza. I want yummy pizza from that restaurant. I like that restaurant. But mommy says, well, tonight we just can't go out. We're going to make homemade pizza. We're going to make really good homemade pizza with yummy sauce and gooey cheese. But you get upset and mad because you wanted to go somewhere out to eat that pizza. And you have a really hard time being thankful to your mommy for maybe cooking you that pizza. You know, she's there to make sure you don't starve to death, and they're not going to let you starve to death. So sometimes you are given something, but you're not really all that thankful for it. And sometimes it's hard to feel thankful for things that you have when they don't go exactly the way you want them to, or someone else seems to have something that you want. And a lot of times people think that you can just get grace by just doing good works, but that's not the case. We're saved by grace through faith, and we must present ourselves in a good and kind way, so our good works that we do can flow out and show God's grace and God's love. Now that was given to you, His grace and His love was given to you through salvation. So not only are you going to have eternal life in heaven, but when you stop and think about salvation and what all's included in that, there's a lot in there for you. There is. You have a one-way ticket into heaven, and it has so many things that's included in it. So the helmet of salvation is not only to protect your mind, but it supplies you with the justification and the grace through faith to make it through each day, even when it's not going so well. God's grace is always there to get you through, right? So I want you to think about this. I want you to think about all the good things that God has supplied to you. And in your little brain, I want you to think about, well, yes, I have a lot of things. I have a lot of toys. I may not have the same things as someone else, but I have the things that I need. I have the things that I need to make it through the day. Okay? And if you think like that, sometimes it's a little bit easier to be thankful. It is. Now, I want you to put that helmet of salvation on, and I want you to protect your mind, and I want you to tell the devil to move on out because your brain has way too much Jesus in it to have any room for the devil. Okay? So remember that when you put that helmet of salvation on, that part of God's armor. Now we're going to make one. Yes, I have a cool way to make them. I made one. And you may think it's a little crazy. But there you go. Yeah, what do you think? It may not look like much of a helmet, but it is a pretty cool little thing to remind me. When I hold this picture up here, you can kind of see what a Roman soldier's helmet may look like. Now, this is the helmet of salvation here, and when we talked a little bit earlier about possibly having up a radar, what do you think about that yellow all around that helmet? You think that might be a pretend radar? Radar is something that helps you, like an antenna, that helps you take the information in better. Yeah, well, we need the helmet of salvation on our head because Proverbs 23:7 strongly warns us to guard our minds. For as he thinketh in his heart, so he is. So if you think in your mind of good things and kind things to do, then you're going to act on those good and kind things. If you're always thinking about bad things and you're letting the devil try to entice you to do those bad things, then it's going to come out of you in a bad way, because whatever he thinks, that's what he is. That's what the Bible tells us. So we want everyone to see the kindness and the love of God coming out of us, okay? So we got to have this helmet on. Now, this was really simple to make, okay? And remember, last week I kind of showed you. The first thing that I done was I have some strips, and these are a lot like the strips that we used last Sunday, but Miss Michelle had to cut 2 of these. These are just cardboard strips, but you can tape them together here if you need to. Now, my head's a lot bigger than yours, littles, okay? I'm a whole lot bigger. So, if Mommy or Daddy wants to help, Mama, Papa, Nana, Nana, whoever's helping you, remember that. If you want to tape them together, and then once they're taped together, then they can help you decide how big you need it to be to go on your head, okay? So that's what this strip is here. That's what I just made, okay? So once I have this together, and I'll go ahead and tape it like this to hold it together, okay? So now it's good and together. I have this band. Now, before we get any further, if you wanted to write Helmet of Salvation on this, you probably could. If you wanted to write your name on it, if you wanted to write anything on it, now would probably be the time to do that onto this, okay? And then I've cut some strips, and this is just colored paper, and it doesn't matter what color you use. You can use any color you want to, but I have these strips of paper, and what I did was I put a strip on one side, and Miss Michelle used a stapler, but now it may be best if you get someone to help you use tape, but I stapled that on there, so it kind of looks like this, okay? And then I brought it over to this side, and I stapled it over here, and you can actually cut as many of these as you would like. I have, let's see, on mine I have 1, 2, 3, I have about 6 on mine. Yeah, and you can just keep winding them however you want to. I think I did one on each side like this first, and let me show you. Stapled that. And then I came over here and I stapled this. So you can just keep building that however you'd like. And then if I cut more strips, I would want them to go from that side and from that side over there. So that would be making this whole little dome area like this, okay? And then I took just a regular yellow strip like what I had, and I cut about this much of it off, and then I kind of made some cuts in that to where it looked like this, okay? And I folded this down, and I taped that onto the top like that. Now, that can go all the way down that side. It can even go all the way around that side. It doesn't matter how many times you cut this little strip. It doesn't matter. If you notice on my helmet that I showed you the picture of, it goes all the way across that. So you can put as many of these little yellow pieces on it as you'd like. I like to consider them my radar. I like to pretend that that's my radar. That's helping me to really tune in to God's Word and the truth. Really true. But I want you to remember, friends, today's piece was the helmet of salvation. And Proverbs 23:7 strongly, look at that word strongly, warns us to guard our minds. Guard our minds, because for as he thinketh in his heart, so he is. And all of my Sunday littles, I want you to think and think and think hard. Think hard and really, really, really try to tune that devil out. Put that helmet of salvation on. Tell him to move over. You don't have any room for him. Littles, it's been a good little lesson here with you today, and I can't wait till we're back together again. We only have one more piece of the armor. One more piece. I don't know if we'll do that piece next week. Miss Michelle's kind of thinking we'll probably do a little Easter lesson next week and then pick up with that final piece the next week, okay? I want you to know that I love you, and I pray every day for all my littles. I do. I pray that one day and soon we'll be back in that Sunday school room together, right? Armor up, littles. I love you. Bye-bye.